Welcome to X-Men Evolution, episode 19 of Cyclops is Waiting for Me, an animated X-Men podcast recap. I fucked all that up. I am JC. It's been a long week. It's prep for Halloween right now when we're recording this. Rod is making moves and being at YouTube Studios, getting shorts, lamps, and such.
And I'm Rod. Also, this nice sweater that I'm wearing right now. It's the only clean sweater I have right now the day it got cold in LA. And I moved my hair for an audio-only podcast.
Yeah, I was going to let that slide, but you saw the look on my face.
But yeah, no, it's cool. I'm grateful the YouTube Shorts team program has pulled me in. So I say class inauguration. I think that these are like, I don't know if it's weekly or something, but there was only like half a dozen of us that we couldn't have been in the entire year's class.
Let's say maybe semester. Maybe you're a semester.
Something, yeah. Something.
Did you drop a scoreboard on your teacher?
No, but we took a lot of... I don't think our facilitator at YouTube was prepared for how much content everyone was going to make walking through the lobby.
Right.
I think it was supposed to be like a very short like orientation trip and ended up being like a 2-hour content making journey. Camille was very nice. She was awesome and super patient with us. But anyway, everybody's so super talented. It was very, very cool to be there with that group. If you want to see more about that, it's on my Instagram, smiley photos in front of Google and YouTube.
Just go back a few weeks at this point.
Right.
Yeah.
As of recording, found out that the next few months are going to be very busy for my life. So
it's true.
I'm crossing my fingers that 97 doesn't drop in this specific time period.
Yeah, because our time frame to record episodes gets truncated and we can't batch record at that point. And just to date the episode, this is going to be middle of November. If you are going to be in Los Angeles and want to see us, I definitely am. Rod, I'm convincing to come down to it, but we're going to be at LA Comic-Con in some capacity. No idea what we're doing while we're there yet, but we're going to be down there, and at the very least we'll stop by and say hi to some of our fellow X-Men peeps like, Michelle Waffle, and I know they're doing a Hellfire Gala walk, and one of the girls has made a Krakoan gate that will be there, like the plant gate and stuff like that.
Interesting.
So,
yeah, I'm going to make a concerted effort to be there at least for one of the days. I feel like literally the least amount of effort, like the least that I could do, because I haven't been to any other Comic-Con at all. So going to one day of one sounds feasible.
Yes. Oh, and it's going to be Jordan Olsen, who's a phenomenal cosplayer. I've seen Jordan do Dazzler, and then she also did the Hellfire Gala look for Rachel Summers, I believe it was, at San Diego Comic-Con. So
very cool. Yeah, so hopefully we'll see you there, and come say hi.
Yeah, just tackle Rod.
If you do, just know I'm going to have an anxiety attack.
Don't tell me that, because now I'm going to pay people to do it.
Cyclops is Waiting for Me is our weekly podcast series where we're going back and watching every single X-Men animated episode we can find, along with some bonus episodes. Our first series started with the original 1992 X-Men the animated series, building up to the release of X-Men 97, which, like we just said, is not released as we're recording right now. That may be different when you're listening to this. I personally am hoping not, because I'm very busy, but we'll make it work either way.
This will come out after the finale of Loki. And my theory is if there's any shot of it happening before the new year, it's going to drop literally the week after Loki wraps.
Yeah, it'd have to be. And also,
because that gives it 6 weeks before Christmas, basically.
Yeah, but I also feel like that's both either unlikely, or if they do it then...
most likely.
They are counting on the show not doing well, right? Because isn't that kind of like a graveyard for new shows, is like the holiday season?
Sir, that is when Hawkeye came out, and I will fight you.
Well, that was also a Christmas show.
Shut up, Rod.
But normally, because all shows go on a 2 or 3 month hiatus, right? Over Thanksgiving-ish through the new year.
The old school method, yes, but that was in the time before streaming.
Well, I even feel like streaming... Well, I guess they were on TV too, but the streaming shows I watch, I feel like they took breaks over at least November, December. But I don't know. I was thinking the old thinking behind it is that everybody's gonna be busy with social things, or enough of a chunk of audiences to be busy with social things that a brand new TV. I don't know, but anyway,
I'm still offended that you lumped Hawkeye into the dead zone.
But also it's an annual thing, because I actually like rewatching it each holiday season, because it has all the components of those movies that we grew up watching, like Home Alone and stuff. So I think it's a trade-off where it was in the dead zone, but it was also a holiday show, and also it could kind of be played year after year, at least to a point.
Also, reminder for Rod that he should, by the time this episode comes out, post the remainder of the Lego opening reels that we haven't posted yet.
I have I'm going to be honest, I've totally forgotten about that. But
That's why I'm saying it on a recording.
Right, yep. I will make my best effort to remember.
Sorry, you've been doing custom edits on the other dumb shit we say. So, yeah. Some reminders. We're a recap show about a series that started over 20 years ago. There are going to be spoilers. And if you don't want it spoiled for you, make sure to pause the podcast, watch the episode on whatever platform you choose, and then come back. We are currently not sponsored, probably, or will ever be affiliated with Marvel Animation, Disney, or Disney Plus.
And don't forget to follow us on social media at Cyclops IWFM Pod on Instagram, TikTok, Threads, X. Every day we're waiting for that thing to die. And Facebook. I have not logged into X in, I think, now months. So
yeah, I did see some comedians said a great couple's costume would be Elon Musk and a dead bird.
Oh, no. That is kind of funny, though.
Right? It's got to be somebody who doesn't actually idolize him who's doing it. But, God, that's a great combo.
Yeah. And did they announce, or he announced or something, that they're going to start charging like $1 a year or something?
Because they said they were going to do it to like counter bots and stuff like that. But I don't know. The second they charge me $1 for that piece of shit, I'm just going to not ever log back in. So, and
of course, make sure to follow us on all your favorite podcast services,
especially X podcasts.
Right. Watch that be the next step.
He's going to. There's got to be. He wants it to be the all-in-one for everything, and it's like you can't even get text right, bro. Right. So, on to our show. Today we're going to be talking about Season 2, Episode 6, titled Adrift. It aired on November 3rd of 2001. Currently sits at a 6.2 star rating on IMDb. And because this feels like a question Rod would ask, I looked in advance. It is one of the 2 lowest rated episodes on IMDb, along with the next episode that is airing next week in a recording order perspective.
I can see that. I don't know about the next episode, but this one, because you warned me this was kind of a weird episode. And I thought weird as in like it was gonna be like Jubilee's
like Mojoverse weird, yeah.
Yeah, and instead we essentially got Evolution's version of Castaway, kind of. If anyone wanted that story.
Yeah, the big villain of this episode was the weather.
Yeah. And somehow Storm was very minimally involved.
She was like, however, what is that, 4,000 or 5,000 miles away?
Yeah, but that's what I mean, though. Like, it wasn't even like written into the story about what it was. But yeah, anyway, I assume that this was taking place during the holiday break. We can get into that as the episode goes along. But I was trying to like time it, like when this was happening. Yeah,
I felt like it was winter break, so it wasn't the Christmas break, but it was like you're in the second semester or third semester, depending on how your school was set up, and it was like that mid-February break.
Oh, okay. So, like, when I was in college, we had January off, basically. So, like, kind of like that or something.
Right, but then we, like, you would get, like, in high school, you would get, like, that week off in February, too.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I've been in high school. I can't even remember if we had that or not.
My cousin's kids who are just getting into college, and I remember, like, that was a whole thing for them. So,
gotcha.
But the episode kicks off where it's windy, and there's storm clouds, and it picks up over Hawaii. And I was like, cool, we're getting Alex back.
Yeah, my note was, like, back in Hawaii?
Right. Cuts to the news. There's 60-mile-an-hour winds, and then there's going to be like a big like storm surge and, everything like that. I did love how it showed it was 76 degrees in Los Angeles.
Oh, that's accurate.
Yeah. And then you realize that Scott is watching this on his computer, so he has amazing Wi-Fi happening on this beach.
That was my other thing, was like live streaming from the middle of the ocean.
I was honestly just impressed by the feed from the news thing,
right?
Let alone the 360 GoPro that's on the front of Alex's board, which is streaming to his computer. Like, what?
With audio.
With great audio. The video wasn't choppy. It was, dude, that was premium tech.
And with 2001, so this was so incredibly rare. Like you had to go to like certain places for Wi-Fi, and then I think some homes had it, but it wasn't like the default just yet.
Yeah. Around this time in 2001, not every home still even had Ethernet connections. Like a lot of people. Yeah. Like it was starting to become more prevalent, but it was not the standard.
Yeah.
Scott is calling out to Alex and being like, yeah, let's make this one the last wave. And then Alex basically gives some kind of like, the bigger the storm, the bigger the waves are going to be, and then proceeds to catch a big wave and fall off his board like a doofus.
I know real life surfers that are like that.
Yeah. And then Scott runs to the edge of the water, drops the laptop on the sand, and then doesn't see Alex. And that's the cut to the animated intro.
Is it terrible that my first gut reaction was I was already in a 2001 mindset, and I was like, that computer is like $3,000 at that time, man. I'm sure your brother will be fine.
I think Scott's worried about the really expensive camera equipment on the front of the board. Because, dude, I mean, imagine like the quality of GoPro that had to be able to broadcast to his computer. It's like a $3,000 camera setup at minimum. Yeah.
And also super stealth, and this is just headcanon I'm writing in, because when we see the board, there's nothing on it.
No, there was.
There was?
There was. It was like a little like half bubble on the front of it.
Oh, I'm going to have to go back and look then.
You have to go back and look, because I was very sure. Also, there's a thing later in the episode I'm going to need you to screen capture for the reel. But yeah, so it's kind of like a dark cliffhanger ending of like, oh, he might be dead.
Mm-hmm. But nobody's dead on the commercial breaks or the intro cliffhangers.
Come back from the intro. Scott is yelling, which we know he's really good at. And then we see that Alex talking through on the laptop and stuff. But he mentioned he's being pulled out to sea on a riptide.
That's fucking scary. I've never been in there personally, but like I remember when I lived on the East Coast and we'd swim in the ocean, people would warn us about that because it would catch you like under your feet and stuff.
Yeah.
And you just have no control.
Yeah, I mean, I was friends with Shad Gaspard, one of the pro wrestlers at WWE, and Shad actually was killed in a riptide a couple of years ago, like 2020. I want to say, yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah, he had gotten his kid out of the water to the lifeguard, but the riptide pulled him, and we didn't know until like 2 days later, where they found him. So it's crazy how strong and dangerous that is, because you just think, oh, it's water, it's the tide, you could just swim out of it. I don't think people realize just like literally how strong a riptide is when it gets somebody.
And just water currents.
Yeah, like exactly.
They're so strong that they like dictate weather a lot of times.
So Scott's instinct is, the proper instinct, which is to call the harbor patrol. And Alex doesn't want him to. He's like, no, just come get me instead. And Scott's like, cool, I'm going to break and enter into a dock and steal a boat.
That was the wildest thing, I think. Not even because it was that crazy,
but because it was Scott.
It was Scott, and it was so sudden, because it was just like the whole reason that Alex didn't want the harbor patrol to be called. He's like, that'd be dumb. I'd be embarrassed. Come get me. And so Scott it's almost like a video game mission where he turns around. He's like, okay, blast through the barn thing or whatever, the covering for the dock.
Well, he blasts in the front door and then shoots out the back door on the boat. Yeah,
just eviscerates everything.
Yeah, he does it with his blast too. He does it like he doesn't just open the front door. He literally optic blasts his way through it. So I was like, okay, well, we know what the one thing that gets Scott to break the rules is his brother being in danger.
Yeah.
So Alex uses his power to shoot up a flare, and Scott uses that to try to hone in on his position. Alex is pretty spent, and that's when he also starts losing signal. And when that happens, Scott does what he's supposed to and calls the harbor patrol. But it's mostly static that got through at that point.
Because they're so far out, if Alex is losing signal at close proximity, then, I don't know how radio signals work, a detailed level, but I'm just assuming they're way out there at this point.
They're starting to get out there, and then also you have the interference from the storm, I'd imagine, is a big piece of that too.
Yeah.
You and I should never be on a boat together without somebody who knows what the fuck they're doing. I feel like we would die.
I mentioned this, I want to say 2 episodes ago, zombie apocalypse, I lose my glasses, nature takes me back. I'm in that pan over at the beginning of the movie. You're like, when the virus took over, I'm the third corpse. There's no surviving story.
You just ran at the zombies to get it out of the way.
Oh yeah, was it John Green that said that or whatever? In this case, with the boat survival thing, I'd be like, I'd try my best. But
you just start drinking salt water.
Right. At the point it became detrimental to anyone else that was with me, I'm like, guys, just let me go. It's a bit better for everybody.
And we're going to be like, Rod, we have to eat somebody.
Right. I'm willing. I don't know if I would recommend it.
And then we get the ex-wipe transition over to the Institute. It's snowing out. Was it Kitty is on the phone? And
this was so surprising.
And it's Lance who's asking her to go to the mall.
Which, that scenario for a normal couple at that time is really common.
That was the last time, that was the regular thing to do on we're too young to drive teenage date.
Yeah. Yeah, because there's so many, you could go to food court and then, I don't know, kind of know each other's interests. And it was a space that your parents would be okay, leaving you at, because it was semi-public. It wasn't a closet in the basement of some friend's house or whatever.
Or like the malls that are around today, which are mostly just ghost towns in certain areas. I did like that Kitty, as she's talking to Lance, yells at Bobby to hang up, because I don't know if you're aware on this, but Kitty and Bobby have had relationships in the comics.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder too, because I loved when I saw that, because that just took me back to childhood. I wonder if you show, like, my niece is 9, would she know what was happening there when she yelled to get off the phone line?
Dear God.
You know what I mean?
No, you just broke me, dude. 'Cause you're spot on. Yeah, I mean, how many houses have a landline still at this point with kids in them? Because if you have kids, you're probably roughly our age, or your brother's age. Like, does your brother have a landline?
If he does, I don't know the number. And
yeah, you probably have his number and his wife's number, right?
Yeah, and even my niece, God, this made me feel old.
She has a cell phone now?
Not quite yet, but she has a Facebook Kids Messenger account that she can message me through, which makes me feel a little bit better because her mom has to manage it for her.
Right.
I was not ready to get a DM from my niece.
No.
But I just wonder, because, like, not only that if it's in the house to begin with, but enough people to cross lines, using it, because I think at the, like, most people I know that I know personally that have landlines, it's like kind of a fail-safe.
Yes.
No one uses it. Most people probably don't know the number. It's just like, oh, if I don't have service or something, there's something, people can call here, or it's like what they give telemarketers, or but it's like, but it was just as common as, like, dinner, to yell at people to get off the line.
Right. Yeah, I got it. Hang up.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, the best part would always be they pick up. Usually you put the phone, like, away from your mouth and then you yell it through the walls when you literally could say it into the phone to the person who's listening. And our instinct was just to scream because we were embarrassed.
Or we didn't have this in our house because my brother and I weren't really, like, we were 5 years apart, so we weren't trying to use the phone with friends at the same time too often. But, like, I know in movies and stuff, there would always be that trope of, like, whoever was on the phone before would pretend to hang up, but then keep eavesdropping. Yeah.
So we assume that Bobby does actually hang up. Lance wants to take Kitty in the mall, and then Kurt shows up steroided out of his mind. And
I was wondering where they were going with that.
And then Kitty's like, I'll think about it, bye, and just literally drops Lance instantly from that.
Hormones are a hell of a drug, man.
Dude, it's into the furry guy, right?
Right.
Kurt just kind of, like, puts the claim on it that it's happening because he's been working out, and it's like, Kurt, she's not stupid. She's not going to fall for this.
Yeah. She just did danger room training with you this morning.
Yeah. And then the image inducer starts rubbing off, and then Kurt leaves and he's trying to mess with it, and then it, like, blows him up to, like, giant size.
Yeah. We talked about this a few episodes ago, but, like, you remember what time period this was? It's like the fat jokes, or, like, the low-hanging fruit.
Yeah. Spike made a comment that was like, oh, you got to stop eating those hamburgers or something like that.
Burger bombs.
Yeah.
Which I actually remember that specifically because I was like, I want to know what those are, because those are one of those, it's like food and sex, right? That's one of those things that's either, like, the best thing ever or the grossest thing ever, depending on who you are, right? Because it sounds amazing or gross. Kind of like Taco Bell, right? Depending on if you're
okay, it's a burger inside of a puffed pastry.
Oh, it's a real thing.
Dude, there's, like, a bunch of fucking recipes for it.
That sound okay. Well, maybe I know what I'm going to do for Thanksgiving this year.
Okay. I mean, if we do Thanksgiving again this year at my place, you could definitely bring that.
Oh, sweet. I mean, I would recommend me making them, but maybe I can find somebody.
You bring a date to Thanksgiving just so they can make burger bombs.
Yeah, or no, I mean, it's saying, like, find a place. We're in LA. There's probably some local place that, like, makes them really nicely or something. But then the other thing, like, when he became, like, they basically just made him blob. But there was, like, I want to say it was, like, timpani or some instrument that was, like, the joke instrument as he was, like, stepping to, like, accentuate it and stuff. And
like that.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
And it was, I mean, at the time it was, like, kind of funny, and now it's like, okay. I like, though, that we're in 2023. The physical mockery is, like, becoming, like, less and less, like, a go-to funny, comedic trope and stuff.
Yeah, it's like a movie like Shallow Hal would not be made today.
Yo, I saw some clips of that just came across my TikTok feed the other day, and, like, I already remember it not being that great afterwards.
And that it felt worse.
Yeah, it didn't get any better.
I could see that. So jumps over, you see Gene is watching the news, and it's about the hurricane. It mentions that the harbor patrol is telling people to stay out of the water because they're dealing with a lot of different rescues. Jean's like, well, at least Scott is smart, but Alex is probably a fucking idiot. And then she turns and gets the shit scared out of her because Kurt has what is best described as big head mode from NBA Jam.
Yeah.
Yeah, it felt like NBA Jam, or didn't Mortal Kombat have that as a code at one point where like Mortal Kombat 3 or something where they had big head mode?
I want to say one of the characters had like a friendship or fatality for that. I know definitely one of the, either Mortal Kombat 2 or 3 had what they called a Fergality, and it was one of the one of the programmers or developers, somebody on the team was something Ferguson, and so they used his face. Yeah. And he was a gigantic head on a tiny body, and I know that definitely happened. There might have been like another like friendship or goofy,
or maybe it was like a Mortal Kombat kart racer. I just remember seeing Mortal Kombat characters with giant heads for their bodies.
There was some of that in one of the 3D era games that I kind of missed, but I caught up on like later. It was like a mini game. Yeah,
I remember seeing clips of like Sindel racing or something like that.
Yeah, that was. I wish they'd bring some of those games back. But you're right on the money with the NBA Jam.
Yeah,
I think that's definitely what it looked like. I'm not even sure that he knew that that's what was happening.
I felt like he was just messing with shit, and whatever happens.
Okay.
Yeah. So jumps back over. There's these like massive waves. Scott is mostly getting static, and he gets Alex to shoot another shot up there, and then Alex yells, and the board starts to go under. From his amazing camera that is sending great footage while underwater. I love this camera. I don't think that camera with the broadcast capabilities exists like for a reasonable price today, I feel like.
Yeah. That's a question we didn't think to ask or forgot about with Steven, was like, where did the idea for that even come from? Because I know it's sci-fi, but like, and it seems normal now, but someone had to like think about that then.
I mean, we were talking about the technology of the in-wall TV that was artwork that turned over into an actual television.
Yeah, and some of that stuff, like normally technology that's been predicted is a version of it. We have our Apple Watches and smartwatches now, and like there was kind of a shade of that in like Dick Tracy, but it's not the same. It was like a little, it's different than what we had predicted because we were limited to that time's technology and stuff, but.
Yeah, because Dick Tracy, it wasn't video. It was just like a phone, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and then like, communicators and stuff like that. Like everything was like, the idea was there, but it executed differently in the future. But like with the GoPro thing, they pretty much got it. Except
they
like
nailed
way better
it.
Quality.
Yeah. Yeah, like the GoPro that I got when I started shooting stuff on Whiskey and Waffles, like I could have it broadcast from the GoPro to my phone, and I would use that to like frame a shot. Mm-hmm. But it was never even in like real time. It was always like a half-second delay and stuff like that.
And was there audio on that? I don't think there was audio, was there?
It would record the audio, but I would not hear the audio through the phone.
Yeah, I wouldn't like stream it.
Right, yeah. And it was not two-way communication either.
Right, yeah. Oh, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
So somehow Alex is able to see. I didn't even think about that. So what is Alex seeing?
I don't think Alex was seeing anything. I think he was just getting Scott's audio.
But that is still wild.
Yeah, it was still two-way audio, one-way high-end video broadcast.
GoPros now, or GoPro-type devices now, don't have two-way.
Nope.
Right? Oh my God, okay.
Nope, it's amazing. At that point, we know that the Harbor Patrol has sent out a helicopter that's looking around, and they do not see Scott and Alex. Alex does get to the boat, and then they start to see more big waves. Jump back to the Institute. Jean and Beast are watching a snowball fight, and then I put Bobby cheats, because that's what Bobby has done in this show so far. Bobby just likes to cheat in anything athletic, I feel like.
Okay, I thought you were going to say, like, there was some implication of, like, the date he was on earlier is like, oh, he also cheats in relationships.
I mean, I haven't gotten that yet, but it's entirely possible.
I love, my note here says that back at the mansion, it's snowing, the kids are having a snowball fight, and plasma ball fight, and energy fight, and lightning fight.
Okay, so Bobby's chucking the snow. There is a fireball, which we've established Magma is one of the characters.
Oh, Magma.
Then there's the character that Rod has not figured out yet.
Okay, was that the electrical one?
It was the second one that had a very specific sound effect.
Okay.
And then there is the guy who I told you about was named Berserker, who does not exist anywhere else. But I'm assuming you did not pick up on the audio cue.
No, I didn't.
Okay, we're going to keep the mystery going then.
It's an ongoing thing. We'll see how many weeks it takes me to figure it out.
Yeah. Like, add a little, like, post-it note of the times where John has referenced this character, and then it's all going to come back, and you're going to be like, God damn it. Beast is like, nah, I gotta show these kids how it's done. And he grabs a snowball, and then he uses his feet to make a bigger giant snowball that, like, it basically was the size of a body of a snowman, and just chucks it at hopefully Bobby, because I feel like the others would die.
And that's where I noticed the Beast had like the gorilla hand feet.
Yeah.
Like they were ginormous. Also, I love that.
There's a proper name for that, by the way. I don't know what it is, but it's a term of having the ability to use your feet like your hands, and I don't remember what that's
like
called.
Like opposable thumbs on your feet.
It's a more scientific term than that, but that's essentially what it means. Yeah.
I also love, maybe I'll have to go back and see if this is like visual enough to make into this, but I feel like I love how Beast kind of does the hold my beer, but it's like hold my cocoa to Gene. Here, hold this. And then he goes shows the kids.
Where did the first hold my beer come from?
I don't know. I feel like I read it like in post.
In memes and shit, right?
Before. I don't feel like I've like seen, I didn't see it first on anything.
Holding. Origin of hold my beer. It looks like it just started from like a still image.
Oh, it's like one of those old memes.
Yeah, like one of those like, that's like a 2005 like meme generator meme type thing.
I love
like next to Velociraptor. At that point, Spike pops by and he's like, Gene, you should come inside maybe. And you see that Storm and Xavier are watching a TV, and they actually like straight up know that Scott and Alex are missing.
Yeah.
From, again, what is it, 5,000 miles from New York to Hawaii-ish?
Yeah. And also pre-social media times.
Yeah.
Their people closest to them are finding out through the news instead of like authorities.
But also, I feel like even to this day, like there's no way that big of a hurricane, there's only 2 people missing. Let's be totally realistic.
Yeah,
there's a lot of fucking people that are unaccounted for in a 60 mile an hour hurricane in that area.
Unless they had such a forewarning and they were like, these 2 dumbass kids.
The Coast Guard said that they had tons of people that they were saving and they couldn't even keep up with it.
Oh, okay.
So they saved everybody else except for these 2 dumbasses.
Yeah. Well, because, like, like with hurricanes, is like they do hit suddenly, but like I feel like when I lived on the East Coast, we had like a 3 or 4 day warning, I think. 9 times out of 10, they literally ended up being nothing other than a rainstorm.
But you mean like when we had hurricane?
I mean, we had a quake and did have a lot of rain.
We had quake, and then where we were in the valley, it was kind of just aggressive drizzle.
Yeah, I mean, I had enough rain for like leaking, but that's just rain in LA.
Right.
But like that 1 out of 10 times when it hits for real, like you appreciate that like 3-day heads up. You're probably like, these 2 kids didn't evacuate the Hawaiian beach that was dead in the center of the hurricane.
The newscaster is like probably just like pouring themselves whiskey off camera and is like, yeah, they should probably be fucking dead. They kind of asked for it. Obviously, everybody's nervous. And Storm is off to prep the jet.
She's like, well, this has to do with weather, so I know I'm on this mission.
Yeah. You cannot throw Wolverine at a storm cloud and hope to solve the problem.
Hurricane and tidal waves.
Yeah.
He starts trying to claw at the tidal wave.
Well, the last time it didn't work out well for him when he went to Hawaii, so he's probably like, fuck this trip.
True. I didn't think about the last time they ran into Alex was not a great experience.
Nope. No, he got yeeted off of the jet.
Yeah.
And then had to fight Sabretooth, and then he stole a helicopter.
And his claws got bent.
Yeah.
That couldn't have felt
that good. Part still, like, makes me, like, cringe, man. Again, one day we will do a video episode of this show, but, like, I literally just, like, did, like, the whole, like, shoulder shudder as I said that out loud. And that was, like, literally 8 episodes ago at this point. Mm-hmm. So, back on the water, Cyclops and Alex are on like this huge wave, and they essentially like go down the front of it, and as they're doing it, the boat runs out of gas.
Which I guess that means, well, either means it's feasible that it means that it wasn't fueled properly because Scott just stole it. And I'm assuming like
usually fueled. People don't like do a full refuel when they're locking up their boat for the hurricane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I figured the other scenario was like trying to show the passage of time, like it had been a couple more hours.
Yeah. Yeah, and it was also like only like a single engine boat, so it's not like that thing has a ton of like run time on low fuel. So also he kept like gunning it too.
Right.
So it's like he's definitely burning fuel on it. It's just kind of like being on an open highway and just going at full blast as much as you can.
Yeah, and Scott yells at Alex like find a gas can or fuel tank or gas can and stuff because he just knows that they got to be out there.
Yeah, so a huge wave basically like just misses them. Another big wave starts approaching them from the front, and then Scott uses his power and kind of Moses' the giant wave. He like literally like shoots it down the center to prevent them from just getting smashed.
This was simultaneously the coolest and dumbest thing. Like, I loved it in the sense of like, if you were there, that was probably the coolest shit ever. Because like you said, it was like a Moses moment, and that beam went through the clouds. Like, we didn't see where it ended.
In theory, also, it doesn't end until it hits something or dissipates. Right. So,
and then on the other hand, it's kind of Cyclops' version of what we were just making fun of Wolverine, like trying to claw at a tsunami, but it was effective.
Yeah, it actually works. But the good part of it is it does actually signal the helicopter that they are like, that's a weird flare.
I like their reaction. They didn't just take it. It wasn't like the scoreboard in high school. They're like, what kind of flare is that?
Yeah, these kids got a fucking laser pointer because it's the same kids who have the amazing camera. So, of course, they'd have the great laser pointer.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, the one that like, you're not allowed to like point to the sky because it could take down like a plane or a helicopter.
Right. Yeah. Because it distracts pilots and shit.
Yeah.
At that same time, we see that the jet is approaching, which makes me think that this thing flies at supersonic speed because it is coming from New York to Hawaii. So it's got to be, I don't even know what that speed is, but it's got to be like Mach whatever the fuck it is to be going that fast.
It's like that meme of someone doing the math of how fast Jasmine and Aladdin are going during Whole New World.
I think MatPat did that in a video.
Oh, probably. That's probably where the meme got the information from.
Yeah, he I want to say he did it in the past like 2 months or so, give or take.
Oh, that recent?
It's pretty recent.
There was something else like an older meme that I saw that had the and I don't even know if the information is right because I didn't care enough to like double check the math. But it's kind of funny because they go like globally.
Well, I think it basically math proved that it would be fatal. Because they get to China at the last possible time when the fireworks would have been going off. And to get from where Agrabah likely would be on a map to there, puts you at speed that if you could not survive that without magical powers, basically.
Also, in that era of music videos without music, where they would take out the music and add in Foley.
Yeah.
Someone did Whole New World, but with just like wind noise.
Is it just the worst sound ever?
It's like wind noise and then like muffled singing over each other.
Now, Alex is able to find a gas can, but as he does that, a huge wave does hit, knocks both of them overboard. Scott starts to sink, and he ends up swimming back up. The only thing that like drove me nuts about this is Scott doesn't take his shoes off ever, which I get why, but like swimming with shoes on is so fucking hard to do.
Oh, I didn't even think about that because I can't swim. So that's another thing.
Oh, really?
If we get stranded in the ocean or something and I go over, I'll just sink like a rock.
You can't swim?
Mm-mm. You know how bad it is? When I was a kid, my parents, I don't even know how many times, I remember it was multiple times, had sent me to swim lessons, and the instructors always refunded my parents.
Did they ever do the thing where they just like threw you in the water and then you just sank to the bottom like a rock?
My PE teacher,
tried to murder you.
I'm not making up this name, and I usually don't mention specific teachers by name, but it's almost too novel not to say. And also, he was a great guy, so this is not on him. This was just the time. His name was Mr. Herr, and he did that. He threw one of those rings at the bottom of the pool, and he just shoved me in the pool. Once again, 90s. And he was like, get the ring. I technically did it, but not correctly. It was like I sank at the bottom, and then I like twitched my legs long, like around enough to like hook it with my toe, and then I just like kind of struggled back up the side of the pool. And I was like, that wasn't technically swimming, but I guess you did the thing, and you didn't die, so we're not going to try that again. But
he tried to kill you, Rod.
But there's something about my body that's like super dense, and also I'm weak, like physically. So the muscle strength and the density just doesn't balance out. Like, you know how most people are like, well, if you just stand still, you'll float.
Not you.
Doesn't happen with me. The only place I float are those sensory deprivation chambers because the saline content or the salt content is bizarrely high. So like anything can float in there, but in normal water, I guess the ocean, but even the ocean, I love swimming in the ocean, scares the shit out of my friends. Don't go to the ocean with me because I'll just jump in and I love it. And all my friends know I don't know how to swim.
Yeah.
And my instinct is just like, no, I'll just drift back onto shore.
How have you survived this long?
I don't know.
So speaking of Rod sinking, the boat starts to sink. More waves start hitting. And then Scott and Alex are able to like get close to each other. And then Alex kind of has like that, well, this was good while it lasted moment because he's like, we finally got to get to know each other. And then this shit happens.
My note here is just 3 words. Alex accepts death.
Yeah, he really does. Yeah, because he basically is like, just so you know, I had started the legal process to change my last name back to Summers. And it's like, oh, wow, that's really sad. That's like the last thing your brother's going to hear you say before you both fucking drown.
Yeah.
And then Scott's like, no, you can't talk like that. You know, a chopper's going to pop up out of nowhere and save us. And then the chopper arrives.
Yeah. At this point, it was a little corny, but I like where they went with this.
I like where they went with it. If it was just this by itself, I agree. It would have been absolutely. So they drop a winch down. Scott makes Alex put on the harness first. And as they're starting to pull Alex up, lightning then hits the propeller. And they have a total system failure on this helicopter.
Just the worst luck ever. I mean, I know they're in a hurricane, so it's not optimal conditions, but pretty much everything that could go wrong went wrong besides immediately dying.
Well, and I don't know if there's anything different with it because there's hurricanes and there's typhoons. I'm used to hurricanes on the East Coast. I don't remember lightning being a regular thing during hurricanes. I feel like that's like it's a thunderstorm, not a hurricane. But
if it was happening like not independently of the hurricane, but it wasn't because
I just can't for the life of me remember hurricanes having lightning, and I lived through a lot of them. So
this is another, you mentioned this a couple times in other episodes about like animation notes, because they say harness in the show, but I think whoever was animating didn't get the specific note because it's just a like tube lifesaver thing, but also they just put it around Alex's neck.
Well, there was the tube, but it also had a like strap that meant to go around your chest.
Oh, okay, I didn't get that. I just saw the tube around his neck and I was like, that can't be good.
No, I did notice that it was not a harness type thing that I've seen in the past, but it also was like, it almost looked like it was like a belt that went around his chest underneath the other thing. Because I know the spot you're talking about. So that's when, come back from break, the helicopter is like crashing towards Alex and Scott, and Scott blasts it so it doesn't crush Alex. And that's when the two pilots jump out from the side into the water. And of course, they actually have life vests on them because they were prepared for this.
Right. This was a good example of how you've always described Cyclops' powers as being like a force blast.
As opposed to a laser, which would in theory just blow up the helicopter.
Yeah, it didn't blow it up. It didn't like heat anything. It didn't like, it just like kind of pushed it.
Well, and I think this comes down to what we've been like talking about for this series is control. Because we like literally last episode was all about Beast losing control. Cyclops knows he has to do this a certain way because if he doesn't do it hard enough, Alex is going to get crushed. If he does it too hard, he might kill the two guys who were just trying to save him too. That would suck. Save my brother, killed two first responders.
Yeah.
But the harness is stuck on Alex, and as the helicopter is sinking, Alex gets pulled down with it. And then legit, I think the only unrealistic part of this episode is that Alex is unable to like cut it using his own powers, and Scott is able to swim down fast enough to get to Alex and unhook him than something that was sinking. That was the only part that felt like off to me for what it's
helicopter sinking.
Yeah.
I kind of get Alex's powers because he expressed several times that he's like just wiped from either surfing.
Right. It was the swim speed was the thing. I was like, really? Like that's like Submariner type shit right there.
Maybe we'll learn something else about him.
No, we're not. We're not going to learn that. Yeah. Your dad actually was not Corsair. It was Namor. Sorry. Yeah. So he is able to get Alex out. They swim up. And then the pilots mention that they can't see Scott and Alex.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, completely lost him.
We jump over to the jet. Storm knows that the helicopter is down. And then Jean sees the funnel clouds, which are fucking terrifying.
Storm was much cooler about this than I would have been because they're clearly funnel clouds.
Yes.
Like, what are those? And Storm's like, those are funnel clouds, dumbass. But also, like, I love Storm's like, we should be fine unless they touch the water. I'm like, what? That's highly probable.
I literally wrote down because it is such a trope. It's like Storm jinxes everyone by saying unless they touch down.
Yeah, because there's not much around, and also like I don't know where it was, how it was like where you were, but where I grew up, there was a lot of tornadoes.
Nope, not at all.
We had a lot of funnel clouds, and I mean, granted, not all of them touched down, but like a lot of them touched down.
No, I've been lucky that I've not been in areas where tornadoes are a thing. I moved from blizzards and hurricanes to earthquakes. That was my life transition. But yeah, so Storm, like I said, jinxes everyone in the water. Alex starts to pass out, and then the Coast Guard shows up and picks up the two pilots, and they're like, "Yep, we lost the kids, I guess."
When I saw that ship, I was I knew they wouldn't do this, but I was kind of expecting to be like they just ran over the kids because that ship was so big and they were close enough to get the guys from the helicopter. And I was like, oh my God, did they drown those kids under that boat?
Here's the thing. I'm not as worried about them drowning the kids. I'm more worried about the propeller eating those kids.
Right.
All of a sudden, there's just red after the boat.
Yeah. That's a boys moment.
Oh, that's 100% a boys moment. So the jet gets closer. They start to see signals in the water. And immediately that's when the funnel cloud touches down. And these kids are the strongest 2 swimmers in history because they're managing to swim and not immediately get sucked into this funnel cloud.
Yeah, that someone more scientific knows like the actual force of that. But just to put it in perspective, I've never been in the middle of the water when a funnel cloud touched down. But funnel clouds on land will tear apart a house like it's made of cards.
Right.
So a person, I know that there have been some people that have survived being sucked into a tornado, but I don't think that's common. And so like they probably would have been ripped apart, right?
I mean, is the ripping apart from the tornado because of the speed of the tornado or from all the shit crashing into each other?
I think it's the velocity of the force of the stuff in the water, right?
Right.
The water and like the stuff that they're in, especially if they're trying to fight it. I don't know. There's no injuries. They didn't have scratches when they came.
Yeah, they were pretty okay. But they get picked up. Xavier sees it. Storm is in her little perch, which we've now seen multiple times. I love they built something in the jet specifically for Storm to go on top of it with a little like back harness so she doesn't get like shredded from it.
Yeah, this ain't their first rodeo. I kind of hope that we see some missions with the adults before the kids join the institute because it'd be cool. They probably won't get into the origin of that, but
like a little bit of like a flashback.
Yeah, something because like that implies missions where that was needed and did not exist.
Right. Jean uses her telekinesis, and it's like I literally always put TK instead of telekinesis, and it reminds me of Ness from Smash Brothers. Because he has PK instead of TK.
Oh,
so,
gotcha.
Yep. Storm is up top. She's struggling to keep this thing under control, understandably so. Mm-hmm. And then Scott and Alex just grab on in time. And then they're like, cool, we're going to get the fuck out of here. You see Scott and Alex that are like huddled up against each other. And there's like the whole like brothers got to stick together moment. Mm-hmm. And then there is a extended sequence of like flying over the clouds music.
Oh, I guess I didn't clock that. It's probably because I was writing notes and stuff.
It was probably 15 seconds of just like flying, get a little bit of like crescendo of music, and then they pop over the clouds, which is always a cool scene like of any hurricane, I will say, is like, you know, everything underneath, like the world is ending, and then as soon as you're above the cloud, it's like it's peaceful and serene and like the white clouds and stuff like that. Yeah, because the sun is still shining on it.
Oh yeah, like in the Matrix when Morpheus saw the sun for the first time.
Yeah, I don't remember that. I've blacked out the entirety of the Matrix except for the first movie.
I liked all of them, but I wonder if that was a padding for time thing.
You know? I think that might have been. I actually wrote Time Killer because it was like. There wasn't a reason for it. Like, there wasn't like a voiceover or anything. It was just like, here's 15 seconds of animation. Jump back into the Institute. So apparently, the jet is so fast that they were able to fly from the start of the snowball fight to Hawaii, save Alex and Scott, drop off Alex at his family, and then get back and put Scott into the med bay, and Beast had only just gotten tired from the snowball fight.
Oh, I didn't even put that time together. That's hilarious.
I did like, as he's like getting ready to leave, they gave like the, oh shit, he's gonna step on Berserker's face. Like there was like a thing where Berserker was like laying down on the stairs, and Beast like steps over and he puts his hands up like he was gonna step on his face. It was such a subtle touch, but I actually really dug it.
I forgot. Yeah, okay, no, I do remember that now because Beast had worn all the kids out. He did what I did to Lucy today, and he was like just walking away. That's funny. So maybe that was realistic. I mean, not the timing of flying, but they were snowball fighting all day, so that literal teenagers at the peak of having energy.
Yeah, like going hard for like 2-3 hours or something. Yeah, but still. Flying from New York to Hawaii, drop Alex off after saving them and getting back. Yeah. Still did it in that time frame, which is impressive. So this is where I want you to pull the video if you can. Well, dude, if you could pull the video on this would be amazing. Because there's this weird animation glitch where Kurt is talking to Professor X, and as that's happening, his mouth pops into his forehead.
Oh, I didn't catch that part.
Yeah, okay. It like I was like, what the fuck? And then I did see it on one of the fandom wikis too, that they mentioned it as well. I was like, oh, that definitely had there was something got messed up, because it's like at least a second and a half of animation. It's not like one frame. It's like you literally see mouth opening and closing, and it's on Kurt's forehead.
Oh, wow. So it's like a couple dozen frames. Wow.
God, I would love to get a hold of one of those. Like, it's cool to have an animation cell from anything if you have like a pivotal moment, but a glitch frame is pretty damn good.
I thought you were going to talk about the next part.
So jumping over to that, Xavier is like, yep, we fixed the image inducer for you, kind of just like, stop fucking around. And Kurt, of course, is like, I would never do that. And it's like, well, obviously you're a liar. Jean is feeding Scott and checking on him. You know, they mentioned that, you know, he hopes Alex is getting that kind of attention from his family back in Hawaii. And then Kurt walks in, and this is like the weirdest button to end the episode on, where the image inducer had put him into like girl mode. Mm-hmm. And Xavier did it like on purpose as a joke, and everybody's laughing. And it's just like, I mentioned it in the last episode, it is such a strange through line that had no specific payoff to it other than being a running gag throughout the episode.
Yeah, it was, that's the secondary story you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like I kind of said this about the fat joke, and then this thing, especially Professor Xavier having this kind of sense of humor, doesn't fit, at least in my opinion. The joke just fits for the time, because that was usually like a cheap punchline, you know, or it's like,
right,
oh, he looks like a girl now.
Yeah, it was kind of like that joke, because what was it? There was a Rob Schneider movie where he like was body swapped, and like that was like a common joke back then. It just did not make sense for Xavier to me.
Yeah. And it didn't, and especially the end didn't make sense. I think this is one of the things Steven had mentioned that they wouldn't have done now.
Right.
And because also, why would Nightcrawler turn on his image inducer when he's in the mansion visiting two friends? You know, like...
Maybe it's just the whole, like, making sure it still works kind of scenario.
Yeah.
Like, because he walks in and they're surprised. So I don't think it was, like, him, like, messing with it. I think it was he just turned it back on kind of scenario. Yeah. It was like, I don't know why it was there. It just was, you know?
It was just a product of its time. 2001. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. Exactly. And then it was like, yeah, Kurt also made a hot girl too. So
right. Maybe that's what they really did it for. They were like, somebody's gonna make a poster out of this.
It's like the second time this season where you're talking about like something being made for the poster. God damn it. Now I have to Google, like, were there X-Men Evolution posters?
I'm just saying, somebody, you know, this, even though tech wasn't super, super far along, I feel like when I was in college, we would screen cap stuff. Not like, you know, like off DVDs or anything, but like we would take pictures of the things and like, you know, print them out or whatever.
I'm not seeing any posters for sale, Raj.
All right, well, somebody on Etsy, you can probably find your audience.
The most I am seeing are VHS of the series, because we know that they never put out the last season on DVD, according to the conversations with Steven. Yeah, and then like there's random Etsy style pages that are selling like fan art and stuff like that, but I'm not seeing official art. So the Marvel comics had atrocious covers at this point. I'm gonna screenshot that one because it's just fucking bad.
That's hilarious. I'm pretty certain though someone just independently was like, that works for me, and then figured out a way to like print it out.
What is it? It's there's Rule 34, and then there's the other one that if there is a character, there is a gender swap version of that character somewhere online. That's one of the other rules of the internet. Yeah.
Maybe that was their thing. They were like, we'll just get ahead of it.
Yeah, that's the end of the episode. So, the one random fact that popped up, according to the Evolution fandom wiki, this received a Golden Reel Award for Best Sound Editing for TV and Animation, specifically this episode.
I didn't notice anything. I mean, maybe it's because I'm watching on streaming, but I didn't notice anything super crazy. But I'm also not a sound editor. I mean, I know I work in music, but I don't know Foley and stuff.
I don't know. I mean, maybe they were just very impressed by the hurricane effects and such.
Or you did say that there was an effect with one of the characters I saw and figured out at the beginning. Maybe there's something like innovative about that. I don't know.
No, that one is literally an homage that you have not picked up on.
Gotcha. Huh, interesting. I guess it's kind of like, was it Suicide Squad or something that won the Oscar for VFX or costuming or something? Was it
makeup?
Something like that.
It was the first Suicide Squad, not the James Gunn one.
Yeah, it was like this universally panned movie that like won an Oscar or something, but it was some random category. They were like, I guess.
I want to say it was probably makeup and costume because of Killer Croc's look.
Okay, I guess that kind of tracks.
Yeah, because it was like, full body practical and shit like that. So,
okay.
Yeah, so like we said, this is one of the lowest rated episodes. When I was watching them 2 nights ago in prep for this, I texted Rod and I'm like, just so you know, it's going to be a weird episode.
Yeah.
And the reason why I was saying it was a weird episode was literally because weather is the big bad.
And the image inducer was like a non sequitur.
I wasn't even worried about that part. It was just kind of like there's no villain here. This is just like nature sucks.
Yeah. But the true heroes were the brothers we made along the way. I guess that was really the goal of the episode, was to like
give the family moment.
Yeah, because they didn't really have that before. I mean, they
right.
did it was a finale thing. It was more of like the stakes were the world and the X-Men, and so this was the stakes were just them.
Yeah, and we didn't really get the whole like conclusion of what was going to happen with the two of them, with like Alex just being like, yeah, I'm not going to join the team, And then the only other thing we really had was them like, hey, I think I'm going to like, try to become a pro surfer and not come to the Institute,
Yeah. And he's exhibited that he's not good at either.
I mean, he was a lot. Here's the thing. A lot of surfers do fall.
Yeah, no, I get that. But
that's part of surfing.
But surfing also starts at the decision of what waves to take, and he grossly miscalculated.
I don't know, man. I feel like a lot of surfers would grossly miscalculate that.
No, I get that. But I would still argue that
it's a bad instinct.
There's a bad instinct there, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's very fair. So, all right, Rod, closing thoughts on this one?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Like, it's good to see the brothers bond, but otherwise, like, weird. I guess, yeah, if we wanted to see Castaway X-Men, you got your wish. Here you go.
I kind of love that. Castaway X-Men. That's solid. All right, well, thank you guys for joining us. If you have any thoughts, make sure to drop them into the comments for the YouTube upload or the official Instagram post of this episode. If you like what you heard, we appreciate a rating on the podcast app you're choosing. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Spotify, Google Podcasts, CastBox, and I also put random like questions in the Spotify upload because that's the spot where I'm allowed to do it when we do our upload. So answer those. Nobody has yet. I just put them there.
We'll look at it in a year.
Yeah, we will.